Talk, a podcast for real estate investors where we cover tips, tricks, and trends in the industry.
This podcast is all about providing valuable insights to help you maximize your investment opportunities.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, Title Talk is the place to stay in the know and get inspired.
So grab your headphones, tune in, and let's talk title.
Hey, we're back.
Hello.
How you doing, Dina?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm phenomenal. You know, I just went. I had gone to a meditation retreat. It was a 7-day retreat where I meditated for 40 hours in a week.
Like?
It was work. Because, you know, most people work 40 hours in a week, right? So can you imagine meditating like it was your job?
No.
So they called it a monastery because basically that's what it was. It controlled what I ate, what I drank, you know, what I listened to, all the things. Like it was an incredible experience for me. And it actually was a very eye-opening. It was stress. It was like one of the most stressful, peaceful things I think I've ever done. Yeah.
What was the most stressful piece?
The life, like the monk lifestyle, I think, you know, just like getting up and doing it again and showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up. And I learned, like, you know, the most beautiful thing about life is that when it's hardest is when it matters most. You know, like you got to be that person. You got to show up for yourself, because if you don't, I mean, no one's going to choose you but you.
So what big ahas did you walk away from?
I had a lot of ahas because, you know, I've been a meditator for 8 years, right? And so, like, you know, I wake up, I do like 20-minute, 30-minute meditation. I'm like, hey, I've been doing that 8 years, right?
Well, you're kind of known to be like the guy that gets lost because he's in the closet. Nobody can find you in the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day, because I'm, you know, taking a break. So I would walk into this thing like thinking, oh yeah, I'm the shit. I'm a meditator. And then I realized as soon as I got in there, I'm like, oh no, I ain't nothing. Like there are people like I got knocked off my pedestal that I had, you know, in my mind, put myself on, and I'm right on the ground. Then I spent 7 days on a hero's journey, basically like going through all of the like hell and like inside, right? Because like, what's wrong with me? Why am I like shadow work and just really weird things that were really incredible, honestly, and insightful and helpful and help me in my community, because I can take those experiences back home and teach them, right? And say, hey, this is the stuff. I think the other part was perspective, because I've been a master of my craft for so long that, like, you want to talk about real estate, you want to talk about wholesaling, right? Nobody can teach me. Nobody can tell me anything. Nobody can. Why? Because I beat you all. Every one of you watching right now, wanting to be me, I've already beat you, and you know it. That's why you probably don't subscribe to my stuff. But the fact is, that's where I am professionally. And then I had to figure out, oh no, I'm like my ego and like all these things, I got knocked down. So I had to kill a lot of stuff. I had to like reinvent myself. And so I'm like, you know, now I've decided for the next 30 days, I'm not going to drink any alcohol. I'm just going to be, even my diet is shifted. Like I came home and I couldn't eat like beef.
What were they feeding you?
Like dates and fruit. It was legit.
Has anybody out there lived or experienced monk's lifestyle in a monastery before besides Jamil?
I mean, I wasn't in a monastery. I was in a 5-star hotel that they contained like a monastery, so it was like rich monk shit. You know? But
I want to know if there's any monk stuff out there. If there is, you could drop it in the comments and let us know what your experience is like.
But we're not here to talk about this. We're here to talk about title, because we've learned now that title talk is sexy. Yeah. I'm super excited, Dina, and then really nice to see you again. How's life been for you?
Life is good, you know. It's officially summer here in Arizona.
Officially.
Air conditioning is on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we just shaved our cat today. So if you guys see a cat moving around in the back that has a fluffy tail, fluffy paws, and a shaved body, it's not sick. It doesn't have cancer. It's just summer in Arizona. Officially. Yeah. Who are we joined with? Right.
Well, today it's just you and I.
Ooh, why?
I know, it's kind of fun. So interestingly enough, most title operations close the majority of their files the last couple days of the month.
Oh no! So everyone's in title
Everyone's in,
purgatory right now.
closing.
Incredible. So that's a lesson actually that I think we should talk about, right? Because most people set their closings for the end of the month.
Yes.
And now you might be doing the same thing, setting your closings for the end of the month.
And they might do that because they want their prepaids to be at a certain level, right?
Yeah, and also it's like it makes sense a lot of times. Like, hey, let's just put it for the end of July. When you're talking to a seller, you're like, let's do it for the end of this, because most people, if they're going to move, they're going to move into a rental. Or if they're going to move, they might move into the house. But like the first of the month is when people typically would take possession of a place, right? So then they would have, they would end possession at the end of the month. And so that makes a lot of sense to me. And so the funny thing about that is, if you ever want to experience hecticness in a title situation, or if you want to have like a lot of stress at your title office, and maybe your buyers and your sellers are like, no one's answering the phone at the title company, like what's going on? Or there's just so much happening in those 3 days that the air traffic control needing to be done is pretty stressful, I would imagine.
Very significant, especially in a month like this, where the last day of the month is literally Sunday. So by the end of tomorrow, you've got everybody expecting to move over the weekend, because the first of the month is on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's a lesson that we can take from that? Guys, don't
Contracts.
sign them for the 15th. Push it a couple of weeks, right? You don't have to make them earlier. You can make them later. Look, contrary to your belief, right? Your buyers like more time. They like more time to get their financing in place, to get their ducks in a row, to get their crews lined up. So you don't want to push your closings early. You want to push them 2 weeks out. So notes, right? Move your contracts to close, or at least evenly spread them so that they're closing on the middle of the month and then possibly at the end of the month.
Agreed. So because of that, we close about 30% of our files the last 2 to 3 business days, which is why it's just you and me.
Well, that's awesome, But actually, if I sound choppy in the comments, guys, let me know. It sounds okay on my end, but I don't know if it's
I'm hearing a little
Could
something.
be
something.
just the headphones, but let us know in the comments, guys, if you are hearing any choppiness. But here's an interesting thing that's happening, because you're as deeply connected to the Arizona market and nationally in other markets as I am. I am noticing some pretty interesting things happening right now, and this is actually really good news. So I last night did a live stream, and I was trying to call real estate agents on houses that had been listed that were in original condition, or like
I think I heard you doing that in a funny voice.
I did some incredibly fun stuff last night. It was pretty.
Do you want to give us an example?
I did this like real weird British accent, and I was like, hello. Oh, I'd like to borrow your house. And then it was a bad British accent, like barely passable. And anyways, I had to remember which accent, because I was leaving voicemails for people in like an Indian accent and a British accent. And then dude calls me back, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the guy who called with the British accent. So he calls me back. I start talking to him. And, he's actually not, he doesn't think I'm a joke or anything. Like, he's just like, he's conversing with me. It come to find out, the house that he has listed on the MLS is sold. But I asked him if he has anything else, and he says, I do. Actually, I have a great house in Tucson, and we're actually working that deal right now. So interesting.
Oh my gosh! So you got a deal?
So we got a deal
live last night,
under an hour. In fact, and I didn't start calling until 30 minutes in. So I did all of that in 30 minutes. So I dispelled the myth, right? All of you guys that are trying this stuff out, and you're thinking, man, I got this full-time job, I got this, full-time wife, I got these full-time kids, I got all this going on in my situation. I don't seem to have the time. I don't seem to have the time to, really do this at a high level. Why? Why are you giving up on yourself? Why aren't you giving yourself even, 30 minutes to play? Pick up the phone and play for a half an hour, right? Play, get it going, and then, it'll work. Are we choppy?
No, you're good. You're fixed now.
All right, cool. Awesome. Well,
Speaking of 1 hour on the dialer, I want to give a shout out to somebody. So Glenn, I don't know if you're on here, but you had him on Wholesale Hotline on Monday. He came up to the stage.
Yes.
So he did, I think yesterday was day 27 of 90 cold calling. And he was kind of tough on himself because he only called for an hour on that day because he had some other things going on in his world. But I just want to give you a shout out because you've been cold calling relentlessly for 27 days straight and streaming it and sharing your updates on Instagram. And I think that is awesome. So if you're watching,
I agree. All work is a win, right? Every
Mhm.
time you get up and do something that's outside of your normal habitual like self that gives up, when you make a different choice, right? When you decide to make the choice that's like, no, I'm not gonna not work out today, or no, I'm not going to, like for me right now, I'm like 30 days dry, right? So if I break that commitment to myself,
when did you start that?
2 weeks ago.
Okay, so you're halfway through. Good job.
Yeah. And I don't know, it might extend, it may not. I just know in 30 days I ain't touching anything, right? So
Love it.
if for 30 days, right? If in that 30 days I cave, what have I done? I broke commitment, right?
To yourself.
I broke integrity with myself. And so, to me, I'm not the kind of person that's willing to do that, right? I the way I see it, I'm like, no, I'm always going to make sure that I have a committed relationship with myself, right? That I do and show up for myself all the time and every day. But I was saying about the exciting things that are happening in the market right now.
Yep.
Because as I was on that live stream, what I realized is that inventory right now is like non-existent.
It's low.
And like deals, guys, are moving fast, super fast. So what does that mean? What does that do for us wholesalers, right? Well, that means that prices are starting to actually start to push up. Now, again, there's still a lot of inventory sitting on the market right now that's just overpriced. You have an opportunity now to call these real estate agents and get these houses under contract at much better prices, and you'll probably have a higher likelihood of selling those because the market is so hot. We are selling houses like hotcakes right now, and it almost feels like it did back in March of 22. Tell me, in your title offices right now, are you experiencing the same kind of volume increase?
Huge. And I would say the last probably 5 to 6 weeks.
It's been like shooting up.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting, right? We've kind of ridden out this wave of, man, real estate is hard right now. And so, a lot of people who are negative or people who say, oh my God, I'm not going to get involved in real estate right now because it's a bad time. Then those same people, when real estate's like on fire, they say, I'm not going to get in real estate right now because it's too expensive. There's always going to be an excuse, right? Which excuse are you picking today? I'm saying drop them all, right? Today is the day that you can get out there. You can watch this live for the next 45 minutes. As soon as it's done, hop off and go pick up the phone. Call some people, make some calls, right? See what it is. Because at the end of the day, if you don't do the prospecting, there's absolutely no chance you're going to get any business. There just isn't. The facts are is that business comes to people who prospect. It's an input and output situation, right?
Business comes to people who prospect.
Yeah.
I love it.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And, you also have to follow up, right? So prospecting includes following up. It doesn't mean you just make new contacts all the time, right? You can't just be the person who, let's just say, for instance, like you're trying to date somebody, right? And then you just go out all the time and you just say hello to people all the time. Okay, cool. You're going to be just saying hello all the time. If you want to go on a second date, guess what you got to do?
Say more than hello.
You got to call them, right? You got to call that person again. You got to make a connection. You got to build rapport. You got to be likable. You got to be an interesting human being. So there's an opportunity, but a lot of people, they'll just get really interested for a day, and they'll make like 40 calls, and then they just stop because it got hard and nobody did anything. Nobody gave them a win that day, and they were like, this is hard. It's not for me. And I'll tell you, this is why I know that mindset, because I went through that during that week while I was out there in the monastery.
Were you by yourself, or did you?
I was all by myself.
Okay.
I unplugged out of my life. Like
wow.
I went missing. I went missing completely. I answered a couple of emails, and I responded to, I texted my wife and talked to my wife while I was gone. And for a little bit, like, but mainly even when she talked to me, she didn't really want to talk to me because I was like down on myself, right? I'm just like, I'm bad, I'm worthless, and I'm a bad meditator. I'm sad. I've got to go by. Like I'm just telling you I'm alive. I'm going to go eat some dates now.
Towards the end of the week, I put you at a better story.
Oh my gosh. Well, here's the funny thing, right? So there was a morning, they woke us up at 2:45. And that morning there was a 5-hour long meditation. And I thought, oh yeah, at the end of this 5-hour long meditation, I'm going to find whatever is on the other side of this like thing, and we're going to be homies. I'm going to break through. I'm going to have whatever these screaming people are having. This like these moments, these like transcendental moments. I'm going to get that. 5 hours goes by. Nothing. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? And then that same day, there were 2 more 2-hour meditations. So imagine that. In that day, I meditated 9 hours. Like I said, I did it like it was my job. Okay. Like it was my job. Finally, I get to the end of the week, day 7. The last like long meditation. Nothing happens. And I'm like, well, I did my best. I guess I have a lot of work to do. I'm not as good as I thought I was. I'm obviously not an advanced meditator. I checked that I was an advanced meditator. I'm not. So I'm going to just go home and be sad about it. But then they said, hey, before you guys leave, we're going to be like, there's some sick people in this audience that were there. There were people who were deaf, paraplegic, had cancer, like stage 4 cancer, and they were there for like to be healed, right?
Wow.
And so the last meditation was like a healing meditation where people would just like, cohere, like bring their brain waves and their heart waves together and like send good energy out to somebody else. And I said, you know what, now that I completely failed for like at doing any of this, I'm just going to attend this last thing, and I'm going to put all of my good energy, all of my good vibes, all of my heart into this person. And that's when it happened. Crazy. It was insane.
So did you start screaming?
I'm not that guy. I'm a silent guy, but I felt it. I felt what people were feeling. It was like just an explosion in your heart. And like, you don't even understand what's going on. It's an energy that is not explainable, but it was, and I think I just scratched the surface, but it was pretty incredible. Yeah.
And now, how are you sharing that with your community?
Well, a lot of lessons, right? I now have perspective of what it feels like to suck. I get it. And every time that, I have a new person come into the community and they're like, it's hard and like, I can't, and all the things, and maybe this isn't for me. I see everybody else getting success, but I'm not getting success. So it's a sign from God that it's not for me. It means that I should go back to whatever I'm trading my hours for. It means that I should go back and continue to trade my life for $20 every hour. And, look, I'm not dissing anybody out there who does that, right? We all have to feed our families. I get it. That doesn't excuse you from taking the time that you have outside of that time, right, to do something or work on something that's bigger, or it's something that could maybe get you out of that rat race. And when you give up on yourself, when you stop, right, or when you do stuff, like I'm a highly competitive person. So like here I am in, meditating competitively, like I'm competing against people in here. And I'm like, I don't think that's supposed to happen.
No, I don't think so. It's like when you go to yoga and you're looking around the room at other people, it's like, no, you just got to pay attention to where you're at.
But I can't do that. I have to be the best because I'm Jamil. Right. And I had to put down being Jamil for a moment. And then I realized the other thing is I think the reason why I'm so good at what I do in astro flipping, and why so many people have, like, if you compare the success rate of astro flipping students to the next wholesaling mentorship, right? It's like this. It's like this. And that's if you adjust for the numbers. Like, I know I have over 4,000 members in my community. But let's just say we make a ratio. Like the closest one is like hundreds of % below me. Hundreds of percent.
Based on all the metrics.
Based on success rates, right? Like my people in a quarter will make $7 to $8 million. That's crazy.
That is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, right? So why? Why is it? right? Because we do this thing where we work for other people. We put ourselves out of the equation and we give. And it was when I actually put myself out of the equation and I gave, I won.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's a great lesson.
Yeah. It was a phenomenal lesson for me. And I really just, I don't know. I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for having the time and the capacity to stick it through. And then, you know, I had said I'd woken up at 2:45. And it had been 36 hours. I had been awake 36 hours. And then I had to share with my community what happened and like what I had learned. So then I do this astro flipping call that lasts a couple hours, and then I head to the airport. By the time, you know, my flight's delayed, I'm like waiting hours and hours and hours and hours. I'm like, you know, I'm pretty zen at this point, but like when you haven't slept for now like 37 hours, you can start to not be as zen as you should be, right? So time's ticking and things are happening. And then my flight's more and more delayed. By the time I get home, I've been awake now for 48 hours. And Southwest doesn't have chargers on their planes. So my phone, and even then, I don't even have my cord. I left my cord in the hotel. So I can't even charge my phone. I come outside. I'm looking for the taxis. There's no taxis at the airport at that time. So I have to use an Uber, but I got 1%. So I'm trying to get an Uber, and a guy says yes. And then like 4 minutes go by and he cancels. So I call my wife. She's asleep. And then I'm like, I'm about to lose it, right? And so I go back on Uber and I find another one and I hit confirm and it says confirm, and then my phone dies. And I'm like, is he gonna come here or not? Because I haven't, like, I don't even know if he knows I'm here, right? And then all of a sudden a car drives by and there's a full bottle of Aquafina on the ground. A car drives by me, drives over the bottle of Aquafina and all the
In your
water
face?
splashed in my face at that moment. 48 hours awake. I don't know if my Uber's coming to get me. And now I just got splashed in the face with water. What do you think I did?
You probably lost it.
I laughed my ass off. I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard.
That will change your state.
It so did. I was like, yes, this is great. You know what? I'll walk home. And then a couple of seconds later, my Uber pulled up. Because I remember right before it died, I saw the last digits were 242. And there he was, 242.
And I bet you he had a charger for you.
I didn't even care. I didn't even charge my phone. It was in my pocket. I came home. I kissed my wife. I fell asleep. And guess what? I thought I was going to sleep for like 10 or 12 hours. Nope. My body woke me up in 6 and it said, wake up and go back and sit down and meditate. And ever since, I've been doing it an hour every morning and I'm feeling fantastic.
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Rest is a weapon.
It is. It is.
It changes you completely if you don't have enough of it.
100%.
Very healing.
It's a beautiful thing. And I highly recommend anybody who's like, if you're feeling burnt out or if you're feeling like things that maybe just aren't flowing for you, put some time into yourself. You know, it's important.
And laugh it off. I mean, that's a freaking great lesson right there, you know, because, you know, I love that 5-second rule, right? Clap your hands. It changes your energy. You laugh in the face of adversity, struggle, challenge. It just changes how you feel.
It does. It releases completely different chemistry in your body, which is another thing that I learned about, you know, how we get so addicted to the chemicals of the feelings that we create in ourselves, right? So like you wake up in the morning, and if you wake up in the morning and you dread your job or you dread your spouse or you dread whatever's going on, and that immediately is the first thing that you think about, right? Well, that's predictable to you. That's like that's your that's your life, right? You dread it. And so now, because you have that feeling, guess what that is? It's a chemical that gets released in your body. And it doesn't matter if a chemical makes you feel good or a chemical that makes you feel bad. If you have that same chemical over and over and over and over again, guess what your body's going to want to do? Crave it. It's going to want it again. So if you find yourself having continuously negative thoughts, guess why you're probably having them? Because your body needs it. Your body needs whatever chemical is being released in your system that it craves, and that's why it's telling you suck.
And I think a quick tip on that would be flip the script, right? So exactly what you just said, I have to go to work today. No, I get to go to work today.
That's true.
change the words that you're using when you talk to yourself.
But you know what? That I'm gonna call the word thing out for a second, because I know a lot of people who stand in the mirror and have like these positive affirmations, and they're still shit. And
No, because they don't believe it, right?
they don't believe it. It's because I think that the wool has been pulled over all of our eyes, because we say, I will see when I see it, I'll believe it. But I think it's the other way around. I think that if you really want like a different life, you've got to believe it, and then you'll see it.
100%. But I do think with the words, when you flip the script, like, and you change it to, I get to go
Then
to work
really
today,
feel like you
then
get to.
you really get to start
Yeah.
believing it.
Absolutely.
too.
Like I get to do this podcast. I get to hang out with Bobby. I get to, today I got to go to my office and film for 4.5 hours. I got to hang out with a good friend and have delicious sushi for lunch, right? Like I got to do all those
It's
things.
so fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It didn't feel like a job, did it?
None of my life feels like a job. None of my life feels like a job. It all feels really intentional and purposeful, and I'm happy about it. Okay, well, guys, if
Back
you
to
have
title
any
talk.
title questions, put them in the chat, because we definitely want to answer them. But I want to know, has there anything gone on in the week for you in the last couple of weeks, title-wise, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, there's a few things, actually. And a couple of them this week have just kind of been a little bit mind-blowing. So should we start with the good or the not so good?
Well, since we're on a positive spin, why don't we switch it up and start with the not so good?
Okay, I'm going to talk about a fun story
Okay.
that I learned about the other day. I was at a lunch with a couple of different investor groups and a couple of people that I work with. And, agent outreach is a positive thing, right, for investors out there. And the same thing is happening in the agent community. And I love that there is a gap being bridged between the relationship on the agent side and the investor side. So
Right.
this story is about a young agent, licensed probably less than 2 years, who has been just calling seller direct and having some really good success. And he's got some mentors, and they've asked him to, flip the script a little bit when he does have somebody great on the phone, and maybe a traditional listing isn't the right approach. So they're talking about, hey, by the way, I work with investors and I can get you a cash offer for your house. Are you interested? Right? Similar to the scripts.
Yeah, that's Monique Walker, somebody I've been doing business with for a decade. She presents her clients with 3 options. She says, look, especially if the house is in original condition, she says, I want to tell you that, for you to get market value, like top market retail value, you're going to need to do some work. If you want to do that work, I can refer you to contractors and designers who can like really help you renovate the house and get top dollar. I'm talking like probably around 450, whatever the ARV is. So she gives it to them, right? And she's like, it's probably going to cost you 70, 80,000 or maybe more to get it there. I don't know how much. I'm not a contractor, but you'll have to get those bids. I can give you those referrals. Right now, your house, you're still not financeable. So you're going to need to spend some money fixing the roof, maybe doing some upgrades in the electrical, maybe doing some upgrades in your plumbing. I don't know what that's going to cost, but it's not going to be stuff that people are going to be able to see. It's just going to be able to be stuff that's going to help you get past inspection and get a financed loan on the house. So we can get those bids as well. Or the other option is I just can connect you with my cash buyer, who will actually, if you want to do business with him, what he'll do is he'll pay me the commission, so you don't have to pay me. And I'll just ask him what he'd like the maximum number he'll pay us. So these are the options. Decide what you'll pick. And mostly every time it's an original or a distressed looking house, they choose me because it's the best option for them. You think people who get themselves in those situations that where their home looks like a hoarder house, do you think that they're really in the state of mind to be able to do a renovation?
No way.
Or they have the financial capacity to do it?
No.
Not likely, right? So tell me about this situation with this agent.
Yeah. So immediately, this guy is like, this is the first conversation he's having that's going to kind of maybe turn into something investor related. So he's texting the investor, hey, can you please give me an offer on this house while he's having the conversation? It's going really good. And fast forward, the seller's like, okay, I need verification that your investor's legitimate.
Okay.
So
like a proof of funds?
No, he wants to call the title company.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
He wanted to verify that the title company was legitimate and that the investor closes transactions and does a lot of business with us. So he picked up the phone, called a sales executive on our team
And got the confirmation.
got the confirmation. And by halfway through the phone call, he's like, okay, I'm going to send you all my documents. And she's like, whoa. I'm going to put you in touch with the escrow officer. You can send them everything. The contract was signed.
Incredible.
Mhm.
Isn't that strange, guys? Like, you can actually get social proof from your vendors, right? The people like your title company. In fact, if somebody wanted to verify me, I would probably just tell them to Google me. But for most people, I think using a title company is the best social proof, right? Because they do business, they're verifiable. That you can Google a title company, and there'll be a lot of information about them. So you can leverage the legitimacy of your title company to add that legitimacy to yourself. Now, let me ask you this, right? Because there's probably some new people on here watching. What if you're brand new and you haven't closed any deals, right? How does that work? How does a title company bridge that conversation so that the investor or the homeowner doesn't feel, this person's too new? And how does the title company do that in integrity and not just make shit up, right? Like, so how would that conversation go, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it depends. Like if it was a total cold relationship, I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do. Like if we'd never talked to the investor and we had never, had history with them or anything like
But
that.
if you
that would
talk to
be
the investor and you
difficult.
got a good feeling from the investor, you could say, hey, we begin working with this investor. I've had numerous conversations with them. I get a really good vibe. I get a really good feeling about them. I think you can, trust that this person is legitimate. We've looked into their corporate documents. We've looked at their operating agreement. We've seen the corporate structure. Everything looks pretty. All the T's have been crossed, all the I's have been dotted. We feel comfortable doing business with them.
And for somebody new, that's
Yeah.
definitely what I recommend out of the gate. Like have
Right.
us take a look at all your documents, your contract, and make sure that there's nothing that we see that's going to be difficult. And also where you're getting your money from, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
another big piece.
Funny enough, so I just had a deal. Tabitha Jones from the Astro community, she had a deal close in Las Vegas. I believe it was with your Fidelity office out there. She shout out to Fidelity out there in Vegas and Tabitha for this deal. But listen to this. So she sells a deal to a known buyer. She's done multiple deals with them. And this known buyer says to her, hey, I'm going to get a new hard money lender into this transaction. I had a conversation with him. He promised me phenomenal rate, low origination fee. I'm going to save a ton of money. So I'm going to use this guy. She's like, cool. She trusts the buyer because he's closed multiple deals with her and they've never had a problem. So as they get closer and closer to close of escrow, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. As they get closer and closer to close of escrow, what happens is the title company is emailing this buyer and this hard money lender. Buyer's responding, but the hard money lender's ghosting. No response, no response, no response. And so she starts to get pretty nervous, right? So she starts calling the hard money lender. No response, no response. And then, she's now like texting and like getting pretty aggressive. And then he's like, okay, he starts responding with one word. Yeah, got it. All good. Received, like everything's good. Well, she calls him and says, hey, are you sure you're going to be able to fund and close this deal on time? He's like, absolutely. They get to the close date. He's nowhere to be found. He's not answering his phone. And now this seller has a $20,000 non-refundable deposit on her purchase that she's making.
Wow.
That this deal needs to close to fund her purchase. So now the seller is on the hook for $20,000. First and foremost, what's the liability situation for that buyer or that wholesaler in that situation? Because we talk about liability quite a bit. And I know that the contracts state that EMD is liquidated damages, right?
Depends on how it's written. But
okay.
Yeah.
But most boilerplate real estate agent contracts have EMD loss as the maximum liquidated damage that can be accessible. And arbitration is always the first thing that has to go. And in arbitration, that's when that ruling gets made typically, right?
Yeah, it's when nobody can agree.
Okay.
Right.
So Tabitha was worried that because that lady had $20,000 up and she only had $5,000 up, she was like, I'm going to lose my $5,000, but am I going to be on the hook for her 15? What do you think from a title perspective?
Oh gosh, I'd have to send that to legal, but I think, nobody should be ghosting.
Right. So the hard money lender obviously has some fault, but she's just worried about, where she is in the situation, right?
Did they end up performing?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
I'm on the, I want to, because I assured her, I said, listen, from what I understand and all of the real estate board approved contracts that I've read, the total amount of liquidated damages that can be sought as restitution or for any damages is loss of EMD. So did she have extra liability for the $15,000 gap? That's the question that I wanted to know. How would a title company look at that?
I totally don't. I don't know on that one.
Okay, so
But
Dina's not a lawyer.
Yeah, I can tell you though, on the builder side, when I used to look at those contracts, it actually could be way more because of how the contracts were written than the original earnest money.
Oh, so the builder could possibly go after the seller for more.
The buyer for canceling.
The builder could have gone after the buyer for more.
Mhm.
Got it.
Depending on the builder contract. But I've seen it.
So that buyer was in doo-doo. Anyways, what ended up happening was they got an extension, they kicked out the lender, they got a new lender, they funded, everything closed, all was well, and the deal transacted.
So
right?
what happened with that lender? Why did they go dark?
Well,
I just had this happen to somebody over last weekend.
So at the end of the day, he said, I've changed my terms.
Oh.
I want a 3-point origination fee. Interest rate's not going to be 12%. It's 18%. And I'll wire the money in right now.
That's not normal.
It's not.
It's definitely not normal. And it's not okay.
It's not okay. That's pretty skeezy,
Yeah,
right?
mhm.
So you just had a lender flake on a deal. What happened?
They didn't actually flake. What was happening was the seller was getting really antsy over the weekend. So
Okay.
they kept calling the hard money lender and trying to get a hold of them and not answering. So they're like by Sunday at 5, like ready to cancel.
And then?
Just said, wait until Monday morning when everybody's back in the office. Hang in there. Sleeping on this is not going to kill the deal.
Right.
And of course, first thing Monday morning, they got the warm and fuzzies that they needed.
And everything transpired,
Fine.
transacted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing about a title company, guys, that I want to tell you, right? So it's an emotional process, buying and selling a house. If you're a seller and you haven't, and you're a homeowner, right? Like you're not an investor like me who has bought and sold 6,000 plus properties, but you're a person who has owned one house. Think of that. I've bought and sold over 6,000 houses. So houses aren't emotional to me, except this one I live in. But houses aren't emotional to me. They're just addresses, they're numbers, right? But to sellers, houses have emotions.
Yes.
And when you are in an emotional contract or when you're in an emotional transaction, there's going to be a lot of extra baggage that gets added to that transaction. Now, why it's so important that you have a good escrow officer, somebody that's got a kind touch, a good bedside manner, if you will, is because if you have like a blunt or somebody who's not responsive or somebody who is just emails back 2-word answers, or if you've got a seller who's losing and getting squirrely like the one that she's talking about right now, and you don't have the appropriate title officer to calm people down, to talk someone off a ledge, they'll jump.
Yep.
So Dina, can you tell me a situation where somebody jumped
off the ledge?
Yeah, I want to hear about it. When did it not go right?
Oh gosh, I can tell you a ghost story that I heard of this week.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
I think we need some like ghost music, like Ghostbusters.
We'll get it. we're gonna. I'll get Bobby. Bobby, get some non-copyrighted ghost sounds.
Am I allowed to say Ghostbusters on here?
I think you can say Ghostbusters. I just don't think you can sing Happy Birthday.
Oh yeah, I think you learned that this week, didn't you?
Well, I don't know. Did they keep Wholesale Hotline up or not? I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll have to look.
Yeah, happy birthday, Laura.
Yes, happy birthday, Laura. You're beautiful and wonderful, and we love you. So
Okay,
tell us about the ghost.
This is a story that a client told me, and it was not a transaction that we did, but here's an interesting one.
Okay.
So assignment fees right now, I did a little poll with our escrow officers, and we're seeing about, oh gosh, 80% of them are under 25,000. Okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Most of them are
15,000.
1,500, 5,000.
Oh, wow.
The little ones in between.
The majority are the smaller.
The little ones, because there's, a few in the chain sometimes.
Okay.
There was an assignment fee on a deal where the first one, let's just say it was more than 50,000.
Okay.
Okay. 4 other assignments in between.
Okay. How much were they?
Little,
Okay.
a couple thousand a piece.
Okay.
Escrow officer calls the seller and says, I think you're selling the house too cheap.
No.
Yes.
That's not their business.
You're supposed to be a neutral third party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you imagine?
no. What happened?
Well, let's just say there was the first assignment fee got reduced to
How much?
to nothing.
Oh, wow. So the seller was just like, I'm not going to sell it unless
Yep.
this goes away.
Yep.
And they just played hardball.
Yep.
I'm not going to come
The deal
and close.
closed and basically
Nobody got made any money really. It was just like a little bit.
Yep.
Now, look, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with a $50,000 assignment fee. I've made a $50,000 assignment fee. I think that when a person makes a deal with you, they make a deal with you. And the number is what the number is.
But you don't know what the condition is. I mean, as that person that decided to make that phone call and say that, like, you don't know if potentially they were over purchasing it, right?
Right. You don't know what the buyer is going to do with it either. You
know.
don't know what their use case is. So, like, for instance, a buyer may not be using it for a fix and flip, and they're not looking for that high of an ROI. They just want to fix it and rent it. So there is an opportunity to make a greater spread. Nothing wrong with that. So again, a title officer's job is not to be emotionally attached or to call parties within the, transaction and starting fires, because it sounds to me like this person not only lit the fire, then threw gasoline all over it.
Well, and it's just completely inappropriate because they don't know all the ins and outs of the deal. They don't know the motivation of the seller. Like, they don't know what the condition of the property was. They have no idea exactly what you said, what the buyer is going to do with the property.
Right.
I mean, they're just literally dealing with paperwork that says, I'm selling at this, I'm buying at this, I'm buying at this, I'm buying at this, I'm buying at this. It's not their place to have an opinion.
So does the title officer in that situation hold any liability or responsibility?
Since it's not our company, I have no idea, but I definitely, I just think you need to be careful who you do business with, because that is something that literally happened to somebody we work with this week.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I bet you they called you and said, this is why we never go anywhere else but Fidelity Title. So,
there's that.
Dina, quick question, right?
And well, our escrow officers are so trained in how to handle investor files, right?
Right.
And I mean, I've heard a couple stories lately too about people sending the wrong assignment agreements to the wrong parties and all kinds of things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of fun things that are going on out there, ghost story wise.
Because moving pieces, right?
A lot
of moving pieces. And if you have a person who's not, say, detail oriented, and the pieces are moving and they send the wrong piece to the wrong player, and now all of a sudden people are seeing each other's hands, and we're maybe in a poker game here on this whole deal, this can be a problem.
Yep.
So again, a call to action here. I want people to understand how they can do business with Fidelity Title. Dina, first and foremost, if you're in Arizona, okay, if you're doing business in Arizona, email Dina. Dina, how would you like them to contact you?
TitleTalk@fnf.com.
TitleTalk@fnf.com. All of you who are doing business in Arizona, I highly recommend. I use Fidelity National Title for all of my directed deals. We take all of our business there. Would you say that we're one of your happier or one of your better clients?
I would say your escrow officer loves working with your team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So
I talked to her today. In fact, she told me
she's
that.
like,
so.
"Oh, I love them." Okay, good. So there you go. Fidelity Title. TitleTalk@fnf.com. I can't see anything, so Dina, you'll have to read that.
What do I do when a title company refuses to underwrite a deal and the seller doesn't want to sign an amendment to change the title company? I would like to know, does the seller understand that they will not underwrite the deal? Because if they understand that, it should be pretty simple to change it.
Is there anything that he can do to help? Or is there anything he can do to,
yeah,
or what would you say?
Do you know why they won't underwrite the deal? Is there something specific going on there?
There's probably a cloud on title that they don't want to insure over, so they don't want to do the deal, I would imagine. And maybe there is a title company that will insure over whatever that cloud is.
Nathan's probably done his research to find somebody.
He probably does.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, that's exactly what's happening. So they understand. So he has talked to another title company who understands the cloud. They said, we are fine to insure over that. If you don't know what I mean by insure over that, we'll talk about it in a moment. So what can he say now? What can he say? What would you say would be a good way to lead him into that situation?
I would go back to his motivation for selling in the first place, most likely. Where does he need to go? What's happening in his life? And bring him back to that place, why he decided to put his house on the market in the first place.
Got it. And now this title company is saying it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Again, they're not supposed to be inflammatory in any regard. If they don't want to do a deal, they can just refuse the deal. And
we
then
can refuse any deal for whatever reason. We feel like there's too much liability.
Right. But they shouldn't be, presenting inflammatory language along with their refusal of a deal.
And has the seller, he or she, talked to the other title company to get any type of reassurance?
Now the seller no longer wants to sell. The
motivation
Nathan,
is gone.
So this is a problem, man. This is why it's so important. Nathan, tell us again where you're doing business. I met Nathan. He lives in Niagara Falls, Canada, and met him I met him in New Jersey, actually. And he drove, I think, all the way down to a meetup that Pace and I were doing in New Jersey with Flipping NJ. And I met Nathan Harris. He's one of my Astro Flipping community members, a wonderful guy. Absolutely adore the guy, makes the funniest posts in our community. But yeah, Nathan, I'm going to tell you this, right? Get a hold of Dina, because she's got a contact for you in whatever state you're working in. And he's working in Central Florida.
I've got great peeps in Florida, and they're actually going to be on June 1st.
So Nathan, I highly recommend you tune into the episode. Well, every episode that we do, but especially the one on June 1st, because we're going to have a title officer from Florida that's going to talk about some of the ins and outs and the sexies and the do nots and the turn ons and the turn offs of working with that title officer in Central Florida. So I'm excited for that.
I can connect you before then too. You don't have to wait till June 1st, Nathan. I'm happy to put you in touch with them and see what kind of advice they've got for you.
And again,
too.
That's Title Talk at fnf.com.
Yes. Hey, I want to know what you Googled today. What's the last thing on your phone, my friend?
Oh, I can tell you it's clean. I can tell you it's clean. Okay. Because I've been just being clean. So let's see what it is. How do I get to history? The Grandview Hotel, or the Rimrock Resort Hotel in Banff, Arizona. Or Banff, Alberta. So check this out.
Are you going on a trip?
Well, I'm going on another meditation retreat in May for a week to Lake Louise, and it's like Monday to Friday. So I called my baby mama, and it was her birthday today. And I said to her, hey, happy birthday. Well, I actually texted her. I was like, happy birthday. I love you. You're the best mom to our girl. And hey, for your birthday, this is what I want to do. I want you and your husband and your kids, as well as our daughter, to come to meet me in Banff, where it's 30 minutes from Lake Louise. And I'm going to watch your kids so you and your husband can go on date night. And I can also hang out with my daughter at the same time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's the nicest hotel in Banff. So I not only sprung for a cool room, but I got them the view room.
Ooh.
So they can have mountain booty. You know what I mean? Whatever that is. So I'm grateful for her. She's such a wonderful lady, and she's been such a great mom to our little girl. So it was really nice to have that good co-parenting relationship.
That's awesome.
It's rare in a lot of people's lives, but I feel like if you like someone enough to have a baby with them, you better like them for the rest of the time that you're around.
Well,
your kids notice.
The people with great co-parenting relationships out there, because I think it's hard.
It can be,
and you're making it work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you make it hard or you don't make it hard. That's what it is. You either do it right or you figure out how to do it right, but not doing it right isn't an excuse. So what did you last Google?
So mine was research related to a trip as well. I was looking up the menu of Super Freako in Las Vegas, because I'm taking my best friend there for her birthday, and I've never been there, but my cousin was there probably about a month ago and said it was super fun. So
It's called what?
Super Freako. It's in the Cosmo. So if anybody has been there and likes it, let me know.
Super Freako. I've been to the Cosmo. It's one of my favorite hotels. I've been to Mama Fuko over there. Have you been there before?
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Good. Wild.
Yes.
Wild.
I'm
not that adventurous on the menu situation. Hence, I'm looking up the menu.
and are you? It's Super Freako. Is that not wild?
Super Freako. Well, I texted to her and she texted me back. We need to wear wigs. So there's that.
So you're gonna go to Super Freako? Did you make a reservation? When are you going to Vegas?
Next week.
It's both single ladies.
Well, I mean, not married.
Okay. I was just gonna say, if anybody wants to, what time are you going and what day? Any of you guys watching this from Las Vegas want to go to Super Freako? A couple of Super Freakos will be there, and you guys might be able to buy him a drink.
No, it's like a fancy little place. They have look at this menu. Seriously, it's Italian.
That's not
It's
Super
like-
Freak.
it's like-
Your noodle's never gonna be Super Freako. Get out of here. You can't call it. You can't call a noodle Super Freako. What is it? What are we gonna do? Are you gonna take macaroni and cheese and make it out of linguine?
Well,
Is
on
that
Instagram,
what Super
they're
Freako
like
is?
tossing it around and doing all kinds of fun, crazy things. So
Well,
I think it should be fun. And Tanya, if you're watching, I think we're gonna have fun there.
amazing. Okay. Well, I want to know, what are you reading right now?
Okay, so I just started reading a book by John Foley, who was a speaker at our recent sales rally, and he
Mhm.
was a blue. I'm gonna lose my brain here, but they're like, the dancing planes that do all the craziest things in Blue Angels.
Oh yeah. What are they called? Those. I think I know what you. I don't know the names of them, but
He was an amazing speaker, had a great story. I mean, the intensity that they have to do what they do is absolutely super fabulous. So just started one of his books yesterday.
nice. Right now, I'm reading The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. Great book. And the reason I'm reading it is because, again, while I was away, I learned about, attention and intention and how incredibly important they are in being able to accomplish whatever you want in your life, right? Everything that you put attention on is where you spend your energy. It's where you're focusing your energy. For instance, if right now you're watching this and you're paying attention, why do they say pay attention? Because it's your currency. It's what you have as a human being to pay. If you have no money, the only thing that you have is your attention, right? So shout out to all of you that are paying attention to this podcast, because you've given us a form of your currency. You've given us your energy, and we
Which is
appreciate
also
it.
a present, and you're being present.
Yes, absolutely, right? So now think of that. So where you send your energy and where you put your attention is where you're sending your energy. But intention is like, what am I trying to do with that? Because not everybody has good intentions, right? Not everybody is trying to accomplish or do good things. Some people might have intentions that could be nefarious. Somebody might have a lower, mindset and want to create problems for somebody, or it could be gaslighting somebody, or it could be wanting to hurt someone, right? And so that to me is very important to watch. And not all of us understand what our intentions are. For instance, as I was sitting out there feeling sorry for myself for not getting the results I wanted in that retreat, I realized that I was getting jealous of the people who were, which I haven't felt jealousy in a long time. Why? Because I'm rich. I don't feel jealous for anybody except maybe tall guys, right? So I mean, and even I don't care about them either. I'm just like, cool, you got stilts on. Good job, bro. Whatever. I haven't understood or felt jealous in a long time. And I saw in myself something that I dislike. So I had to really focus attention on it so I could change it, right? But then I also wanted to understand the intention behind it. What am I why am I competitively meditating? I don't think that's a sport.
Maybe it is.
Well, no, it's not. And it actually goes absolutely against the reason to meditate, right? You're supposed to just do this to get out of yourself. And here I'm competitively doing it.
Is there a world record?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Maybe we should Google that.
Maybe Gandhi had let's see. Yeah. Is there a world record? If anybody knows if there's a Guinness Book of World Record holder for meditation time, I think it's me for the 40 hours, but it's not, because there were people that were.
So intentions, do you have an intention for the year?
Yes, my intention. So I would say that my last year was pretty effing good.
Yeah.
And so this year, my intention is for it to be pretty freaking epic. good to epic is the intention. And I have some pretty great strategies on how we're going to accomplish that. So Bobby and I are changing up some of my YouTube strategy. We're moving from small, short little, tips and tricks, which I know you guys all like. We'll still give you those, but I'm going to go more vloggy style and really peel the curtain behind how I live, like what's going on. How do I run, 2 multi-million-dollar companies? What do I do with my day? What am I spending the majority of my time on? Who do I talk to? What are the leadership conversations look like? What are the conversations with some of my support staff look like? Where do I eat? What do I do? How, what self-care practices do I do? What things am I avoiding? What things am I doing that might be not so good? Where could I find an opportunity to grow? And so I really just want to get more authentic and more real with the people that I get to interact with in my community and in the world, right? I don't want you just to have a surface level understanding of who I am. I think that if you are going to pay me attention, you should know all of it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just kind of peel that curtain back and people are going to see.
So vloggy style, are you going to do written word as well to go along with this?
I'm not a good blogger. No blogging, just vlogging.
Well, then ChatGPT might not read it.
Yeah, no, we have no intentions to blog, but we will vlog, and I'm excited because I get to spend more time with Robert. Actually, guys, name change.
Hold on. Steve told me until I'm done with BNX, I'm Bobby. And I was like, I stick with
All right, guys. I was ggoing to say something, but I'm not allowed. I'm
We're getting censored.
I just got told I'm not allowed to tell. But anyhow, Bobby is going to be hanging out with me, and we're going to be doing stuff. Also, everybody who is a sub 2 Astro Flipping community member, fan, if you like Pace, if you like me, Pace and I are doing the Wealth Without Cash book tour. That's Pace's Bigger Pockets book. We're going to be flying around the country from the beginning of May until the middle of May. And we may be coming to a city near you. So what I'd like you to do is send me a DM, and I'll send you out the entire travel schedule. We're going to be at the Barnes and Noble in different cities, signing books, hanging out, talking and hanging out. So would love to meet you guys if you want to come and hang out with Pace and myself. We will be flying around the country, and it'll be we will be in Charlotte. We won't be in Charleston. I'm sorry. We won't be in South Carolina, but we will be in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I know that's not too far of a drive for you. So hopefully you can make it out and hang out.
And isn't there an event this weekend?
There is an event this weekend.
And
so
it's at one of my favorite resorts in town.
So my brother, Tariq El Musa, and his lovely wife, Heather, along with the rest of the Selling Sunset cast, some celebrity names like Mary and Romaine, they will also be there, as well as Pace and myself. We will be at the Flipping Summit this weekend here in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you want to hang out, if you want to hear some incredible content, meet HGTV star, Netflix star, A&E TV star, you can come and hang out with us. And we'd love to meet you. We'd love to, hang out and talk real estate or whatever. I won't be drinking, but I will be hanging. So there's a link if you want to join us. It is www.theflippingsummit.com. Highly recommend it. I highly recommend it.
Is it sold out yet?
There may be a couple tickets left. I think he opened up some overflow. So yeah, but so if you do buy a ticket, get there a little early so you get a good seat, because it's not numbered seating. So even if you buy a ticket now, you can still sit like right up front. So theflippingsummit.com. We would love to see you this weekend. Are you going to be at the event?
I don't know. Let's talk about offline.
Okay.
Maybe. So I believe in the power of intention too. I do this thing called the one word. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So it's where you basically focus on one thing for 365 days. This is our team's 7th year, I think, doing the one word. So this year my word is believe. And that's changed its definition for me many, many times already. So
wow.
It starts definitely a lot internally. And you just never know what's going to happen if you focus on the same thing for 365
you know what's going to happen.
days.
It's going to happen because you believe it, right? And I
Yeah.
think for a lot of you that are not getting the results that you want, you're doing this opposite, right? You're trying to affect from the outside in, but I think that real transformation in life happens from the inside out.
Well, and you got to be careful what you wish for too, because I've had so many friends pick words, and in order to learn that word and really master that word, sometimes things happen, right?
Yeah, they do. And be careful what you wish for.
Exactly.
Guys, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you
Yeah.
on Title Talk tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Dina, it's always a pleasure to see you. You look wonderful. You smell wonderful. And guys, we highly recommend if you are working in the business of wholesale real estate, creative finance, or real estate transactions for investing purposes at all, that you reach out to Title Talk at fnf.com to find an investor-friendly title company to do business with you. And we will see you guys again on another Thursday.
Yes, we will.
Later.
Bye, guys.